talk. It's time to rock. It's a great day. It's a great couple of days, in fact, Foxy, for Rolling Stones fans, brother.
That's absolutely fantastic. It's been a hell of a long wait for this particular day, or the last couple of days, and now the next few weeks are going to drag on, no doubt. But yeah, we're off to a cracking start with a wonderful single.
Awesome. I look forward to talking with you a little bit more about that single as we go through the show, folks. As usual, if you got any questions for Foxy, I'm going to introduce Foxy to the people who may be watching on a replay who are not familiar with Foxy. He's been on the channel 3 or 4 times. We have a playlist set up called All Things Sticky Fingers, Rolling Stones stuff. So if you want to check Foxy out, he'll be on a couple of videos there. But I'll also include Foxy's Facebook link too on here, Foxy, if you want your YouTube group, if people want to follow you there. Yeah. Is that okay?
That's fine. Yeah, YouTube's good, mate.
Awesome, fantastic. So obviously, you know, we're here to talk about this great news that's finally been revealed to us, Stones fans, music fans. You and I were talking a little bit in the green room, Foxy, about the single Angry and the video. I'm keen to hear your thoughts on both, please. You know, you're an acknowledged Stones fan, hardcore amongst our community and also internationally. So your opinion does matter, bro.
Thank you. What can I say? But they teased us a while ago with 16 seconds of a song, and like, oh yeah, it's okay, and you couldn't really tell much from it. And there were a few people's opinions. It's just a jagged track or whatever. But it was you know, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But then when the actual song dropped the other night after the end, you know, we can discuss the whole interview as well with Jimmy,
sure.
And that was fantastic. But yeah, the song came on. Eventually, it took a while, and then the video started, and I was just blown away by the video and by the song. Just fantastic, both of them. The video, you know, I've seen lots of Stones videos as we all have, but this is right up there in terms of quality of video from my perspective. You know, the technology involved in it, the energy. And the way it's portrayed with the band going back through history with all the different billboards is just fantastic. You just want to watch it in slow motion, really, so you can read it. And every time I watch it, you know, I see something different, and you just need to go through it really slowly, almost shot by shot, because there's so much to learn from that. And it's just, I love how they're on the billboards and yet they're flat, and the mouths are moving in time with the music and everything. It's an amazing bit of technology, you know. I'm thinking back to, what was it, Harlem Shuffle or whatever, and videos like that back in the day. And what was the one where they're walking up the stairs? It's just rubbish compared to what we're dealing with today, you know.
Yeah. It's no Start Me Up, is it? You know.
Yeah.
You know, where they're just miming with their guitars, and you know.
all of it. Even She Was Hot, which was a personal favourite of mine when I was a much younger man. You know, like this is just sensational. So. Yeah,
look, I agree with you. I think it's fascinating. I've watched the video quite a few times. In fact, it was suggested to me by one of my work colleagues. They know what we do here on the channel. Said, you know, why don't you take some pics and put it up as a video? And so that's what we've done, you know. So we've done that with our channel music so that we don't get copyrighted. But I agree with you, Richard. I think this is one of the great things about the Stones with this video, is they've given, and we like to use this word on the channel, they've given us an archaeology of their whole career, you know, with those billboards and with this video. It's a remarkable piece of, I'm going to call it art.
Yeah, for sure, and it is. It's a very historical thing, you know. It captures pretty much all of the 70s up to today, and it's just, amazing, really. I'm almost lost for words with the video because it is that good. I just enjoy it. I've seen a few negative comments about it and things that it's sexist but that's
What?
that's the Stones. Yeah. Because of the girl, because of a bit of fluff in there, they found it sexist. So but,
I find that two-faced
yeah,
by people
yeah.
because you go, there'll be 50 other videos on the top 50 that will be
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
more than what that girl's doing, Rich.
Oh, without a doubt. And Britney Spears or whoever flavor of the day is this week, their videos are a lot saucier than anything the Stones. And I guess the perspective is that if it's a female actress, a female singer doing these things herself, that's one thing. It's another thing with a bunch of old men and a young female doing it. But even so, I think it's a long bow to draw. To call it that.
It's rock and roll, brother. It's rock and roll,
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly.
we're not going to
No one got hurt.
make any excuses for it. I'm going to do a quick shout out, bro. We've got some awesome people in the chat. We've got Brad, our co-host, is in the chat. He's saying, hi, guys. Happy Friday. How exciting, Rolling Stones. New release. We've got Wednesday Store, a good friend of ours, Dave, from the UK. Good to see you, bro. A Stones nut. We've got the Rock Professor here, and also Gretch Zeppelin and Nelson. So we've got a few people hanging out with us, and also the people that are going to be watching us on replay. Again, we'd like to acknowledge you. Thank you for subscribing and watching us, and thank you for just wanting to hear what two Stones nuts have to say about this this single and the news that the Stones have finally given us a new studio album since 2005, Rich.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah, since the Bigger Bang, it's been, we were never going to get an album straight after that, but it has dragged on, and the rumors have been going on for years and years and years about the new albums coming. They're recording this, they're doing this, they're doing bits and pieces, and finally, and I always thought it would come. It was just a matter of when, but
Yeah.
it's taken a long time, and obviously you got Blue and Lonesome along the way, which was an interesting sort of thing. But to me, and that was nice. But this is the Stones now. I'm all about the Jagger Richards tunes, and this is so exciting. 18 years of waiting, but well worth it. The odd single throughout history, but just to get to this point, it's amazing.
Exactly, I'm a little bit excited like you. We've got Carl in the chat as well too. And isn't it great to hear Keith play the open G as well? Ronnie play the lead. Boy, he sounds good. He's nice and crunchy. I couldn't believe when I put my earpods on. I was listening. Nice crunchy tones, Foxy.
Yeah. And I was talking to one of my friends today. He was saying how bassy it was too, this particular song. Just so much bass to it. Something we don't always get with the Stones, I guess. But it's it's fantastic.
One thing I want to ask you about. You and I, we did a show with Carl a while ago, and it wasn't a criticism of Mick. It was an observation. It was a fact, that we said that when he was touring and singing, he was more rapping as opposed to singing. Mm-hmm. And he had to do that, obviously, to protect his voice and, to give that long life, that longevity that's really important. But wasn't it good to hear him sing on this? To sing the notes, sing some scales.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I think he's doing great. And once again, I've heard some criticism. Oh, it's all very nasally and that by Mick, but there are some very interesting Stones fans out there, I tell you. But and I use the word fans loosely, but I think it's fantastic. Jack, he's 80. He might have been 79 when he recorded this, but it's just and taking the age factor out. I don't want to. So he's really good for 79. No, he's really good for any age.
Oh,
he's still got it. It's just
the way that he jumped up. So we were talking about the Jimmy 25
Jimmy
minutes
Fallon.
of gold. 25 minutes of gold, bro.
Yeah. A little bit of scripting in there, but pretty much, just free and just to talk however they wanted amongst friends, and it's fantastic,
Look, I'm like a lot of us. I'm looking forward to the album. what did you think about some of the guest musicians, Mr. McCartney, Macca playing bass, and
Yeah.
who's that old guy? That old guy, they managed to get him back.
Mr. Wyman.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That one surprised me, but
yeah.
good on him and good on them and one song and that's very interesting that they brought him out and great that he's on the track with Charlie. Charlie's on 2 songs on the album and great that they've got the original band. They've got the band back together as much as they can, So
Oh,
that
and that was
that's
wonderful the
great.
way that they spoke about it too,
Yeah,
Foxy. They spoke about Charlie with tenderness. That was nice. But
yeah,
having Bill come, that was
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I wasn't expecting that William Perks to make an appearance. You hear that, there's lots of rumours about Ringo's going to be on it and all sorts of things, and a lot of the things have come true, and some not quite so much. So we wait and see how it's all laid out in front of us.
We've got a comment here from our co-host Brad saying nothing wrong with the video. It's sexy
Yep.
without being too raunchy. Oh,
Yeah.
clearly. And there are far worse videos and lyrics and songs in the modern era. 100%, brother.
Yeah, for sure. No,
We also have Phil Byers here too saying, "Hi Foxy, just home from the pub, slightly pissed,
hey,
but
Phil.
he's going to listen on."
so just a normal night then, Phil. Yeah. In Chicha. Yeah. Yeah.
So what else do you think, or have you heard that they may be releasing with this package? Are there any extra bits and pieces that might be coming?
Well, you've probably seen there's multiple things. I think I'm up to 7, or is it 8? No, I'm now on 8 different vinyl. I've ordered 8 different copies of the vinyl from all around the world. So I know
Wow.
it's ridiculous. So yeah. So we have the black vinyl, which is obviously standard here in New Zealand at JB. We have the fuchsia vinyl. There's also the clear vinyl, so for the Marbecks of this world, so the independent record stores. And then out of Carnaby Street in London, you've got the red vinyl. Then out of the Stones official store, you've got the blue vinyl. Then out of Amazon, you have got the green vinyl. Out of Target in America, you've got purple vinyl, which may be the same as the fuchsia. I'm not sure about that. And today, answering your question, today the Japanese stuff went live on CD Japan, which is my go-to Japanese buying website, and their CDs normally often have a bonus track, and it's getting a bonus track. We don't know what that track is yet, so there's going to be 13 tracks on the CD. But on the LP, they're also advertising it as a bonus track on the vinyl, which I don't know if ever that's been done on a mainstream normal Stones release. If the LP has had a bonus track, So crazy. Very exciting.
What about Foxy? Any news about any footage of them recording in the studio this album? Is there going to be any?
Well, I don't know how much I can say. The Stones are still in London, I think. Well,
Okay.
Today's Friday, so Friday morning their time. The Stones are still in London, and the Stones are busy. So, from what I understand, they are doing things over yesterday, today. I'm not sure about for tomorrow or what, but for a couple of days thereafter the Jimmy Fallon thing, they had some commitments in London. And yeah, we will no doubt see some video of what they're doing. So they're not going to be performing live at all this year, but I understand. We live in hope for next year, but yeah, they are busy, and so yeah, we'll see some stuff. In terms of, if you're asking about have they filmed stuff from what they did earlier this year, from when Ronnie said, from Christmas onwards, I have no idea. I imagine they probably did. And will we get a DVD or a Blu-ray of that one day or something? Possibly will, or some sort of live stream, well, not live stream, but some sort of online video content, possibly. But I don't know.
Awesome. We're going to make a slight detour because our good friend here wants to hear some of the stories of Foxy's trip that you had. we had hoped, folks, that we were going to do a show with Foxy to talk about this, but and we still will, believe it or not. But
we
but
still
this
can.
drop,
We still can. Yeah.
this drop
Yeah,
obviously takes precedence, for us to get an opportunity to talk about the upcoming album. But Foxy, you got a couple of things that you'd like to share with us about your trip?
Well, yeah. So last year I went on a trip, which I've been very fortunate for a number of reasons, a number of ways, but very fortunate to see the Stones on every tour since 2014, except for 2021, thanks to our Prime Minister. We won't get into politics, but in terms, it was going to be too difficult to go to America in 2021 and to come back and tee up a flight and stuff. I can't afford to be in limbo. So anyway, so I didn't go there. But other than that, I've been every year. Last year, I went to Europe and caught the second Hyde Park show. I wanted to go to Hyde Park because, as you all know, is a historical venue for the Stones. 69 Hyde Park. The first VHS cassette I ever bought back in my Hamilton days was the Stones in the Park. I bought it from farmers and I paid $30, which was probably a ton of money back then for this VHS cassette. And I watched that VHS cassette a ton of times back in the early 80s or the mid 80s. It would have been. So I wanted to go to a show in Hyde Park. And so they played 2 nights in Hyde Park, a week apart. I knew there was going to be no show in between. And so I don't want to sit around in London for a whole week doing nothing really. Not that London's a bad place. So I arrived the day before the second Hyde Park show, queued from 7 in the morning. I was the first person at my gate from about 7 in the morning. Got into the pit when the gates opened. Basically, me and a young Italian guy half my age arrived at the same time into the Holy Grail corner on Keith's side of the stage. So that was a good start to the day. Very hot, beautiful day. Show was excellent, of course, amazing. Totally different backdrop to a normal concert, as you're probably all aware of with the Hyde Park. They have the tree sort of looks, images and stuff on the screens, and just a very different setup to normal. That was what happened in that night. So Satisfaction was the closer on that night, and Keith was playing Satisfaction as he does. And he throws out the odd pick, not all the time, but he throws out picks. And at the end of Satisfaction, he threw out his pick, and it landed in the ground in front of the security lady. And I'd been obviously been friendly with her all evening and had well trained her and versed her on the protocol. And then I'd come all the way from New Zealand, and so she picked up the pick and she handed it to me. So I've got Keith Richards' Satisfaction pick, probably the last time he and the Stones will ever play Hyde Park, and I have that guitar pick in my collection now. So that was a particularly memorable night. So yeah.
So folks, be nice to security people and
always make friends with security. Yeah. Indeed, that's rule number 27. Yes. So you want me to carry on the stories? Or yeah. So basically from there, so after that, I then caught the Eurostar to Belgium. Went to stay with a Stones mate in Belgium for a couple of days, and we went to Amsterdam. So the Stones played at Amsterdam. They'd had an earlier show where it had been cancelled. Everyone had got into the venue, and I think the promoter came on stage at 7 o'clock at night. An hour and a half before they were due to go on stage, and said, "Mick's sick. See you later. Your tickets will be still valid." And so the show was cancelled, postponed from that right there, where half the stadium was already full. So everyone left. And so they rescheduled that to a few days after the Hyde Park show. So I was very lucky to get that. I wasn't expecting to see that show when a few weeks before that. So I managed to get a ticket for that, which was fantastic. Stayed at the stadium there, the Amsterdam Arena. Very good. One of the best burgers I've ever had in the world. Was a burger joint right next to the stadium there, just as a little aside. And after that, I went back to Belgium, stayed with a mate for a few days. Then from there, we went to Brussels. The Stones played in Brussels. My first time seeing the Stones in Belgium. That was good. Wow. Stadium was sort of a bit of a hassle to get to and walking around and stuff, but it was all worked out quite well. And then after that, I went from Belgium. I flew to Vienna, to Austria. My first time once again seeing the Stones in Austria. I went and visited a friend who lives in Austria, and she has, oh my God, one of the most amazing Stones collections in the world. Just blew my mind with how much stuff she had. So I was very lucky to have little tour of her house. She's very private about it, so not many people would know what she's got, but it was absolutely mind-blowingly incredible.
Wow.
And then so the show was that was good. I hung out with a few Austrians, virgin Austrians, who'd never seen the Stones before, which is always good fun. Always good to catch up and to meet people who've never seen them before and share in their experience and the hype and how much. And one of the highlights of the Austrian show in Vienna was they often bring on a choir for you can't always get what you want, the local choir or whatever, but for this particular show they had a youth choir from the Ukraine, which was like super emotional,
Wow.
a year ago. So we had a bunch of Ukraine, and it's the only show on the whole tour where they brought this Ukraine choir on stage, and of course everyone's, it was very emotional for all involved, but it was just super cool that they'd done that. They obviously paid for 30, 20 kids, whatever it is, to come over, or young people to come over and do that. So that was
Fantastic.
good. Austria. Yeah. And then in terms of travel stories, so then I was due to fly from Vienna to Lyon, which is kind of a horizontal little flight from Austria to France, if you can picture that. But they cancelled my flight and they rerouted me. So rather than going from Vienna to Lyon, I went from Vienna all the way to Istanbul, like 5 hours in the wrong direction, and then changed planes there, had an hour there, and then flew all the way to Lyon. Eventually got to the Lyon show. So yeah, Lyon was good, and then I had a break off touring for a wee while, and then I caught the Stockholm show, which had been scheduled to be the last show. So anyway, that's
Wow.
the brief version of the tour.
That's the brief version. Right, Foxy folks
Yeah,
will come back when we've got a couple of other
yeah,
co-hosts here and do
yeah,
the
yeah,
long version. But
yeah.
phenomenal. So it's interesting because, again, folks, if you're not familiar with who Richard Fox is, he's he's the Prince of the Voodoo Lounge. He's sitting in the Voodoo Lounge now, so I'll attach some news footage, clips that he's done on our national news over the years, where they filmed where Richard is. So you'll be blown away. So if Richard is telling us that somebody else had a phenomenal collection, given your collection, holy cow! I can't imagine what this woman must have.
A different sort of collection to mine. I have a lot of merchandise and knick-knacky stuff, which I love, but they had gold records for Africa, and lots of people have gold records, but they're gold records and they're gold records. You can,
Yeah.
but the actual ones handed, there's only 5 gold records that matter at a time, for each one of the Stones, and to have, Keith Richards' gold record for Sticky Fingers or whatever it might have been is the big deal, and she had a number of those sorts of things, plus more vinyl than you've seen in Real Groovy almost, in terms of Stones vinyl. It's just insane. So yeah, fantastic.
Is this album going to be a #1 album, Foxy?
That's a good question. So my question is, when do they base that? Are they basing it today on the pre-orders, or is it on what goes out the door on the 20th of October, and do the pre-orders count towards that 20th of October day, or what? Because a lot of people are pre-ordering it now. Obviously,
Yes.
the general public will walk into the store and buy it on the 20th. The fans like me, everyone I know, has pre-ordered all their copies that they want. So
Look, I don't know.
how it
I'm
works?
going to be. I'm certainly going to be watching social media over the next couple of days to see where anger goes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's had enough
you know,
publicity to go to #1 if people like it. It's had a lot of publicity around the world. So
wouldn't
I
it be
think
great if
the album and the single will go to #1 somewhere in the world. Multiple places in the world. It might be Taiwan and South Korea, or
Yeah.
Brazil. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it will somewhere.
Gosh, wouldn't it be good if it went, #1 in the US
sure.
and the UK? Wouldn't that be?
From the 60s to the 2020s, having a #1 pretty much in every decade, or having a #1 from then to now. So,
look, I'm like a lot of fans. I suppose we're going to wait and watch and see what happens with that. Do you think they'll tour?
health permitting, they'll tour. Yeah, they love touring. You know, Ronnie loves touring. Keith loves touring. And I think Mick probably likes it too, really. So yeah, if their health is good, then they will tour. They should have toured this year, but Mick had an injury, so they cancelled the tour that they had planned. It wasn't announced to the public, but all the dates were booked, and I had the whole itinerary, and I knew where I was going to go, roughly. And it was that happened, and so hopefully next year, health permitting, we're dealing with a couple of, by then it'll be two 80-year-old men and Ronnie. So fingers
I,
crossed. Yeah, they love touring, and they don't make much money from this album stuff. It's all about the t-shirts and the tickets, where the big coin comes from.
I'm also going to remind folks too that the last show that we had Foxy on, folks, he was reminding us about how Mick in particular is driven, a goal-setting man. He likes having goals. And I remember you telling me on that show that he'd like to be, to take his band to 60. He's done that. And then he'd like to be one of the first rock and rollers to tour when he's 80. He's gonna bloody do it.
Yeah, for sure.
He's done everything that you predicted that, that he, and he's done it.
Yeah, and Keith's the same, but different in different ways. But Keith said for many years, people have asked him when he's going to retire. We've been asking him for 20, 30, 40 years, and he's looked at the blues guys. These guys are in their 80s and they're still going. So when do you stop? Well, and they're just following that. We don't have a deadline. They're not. Sorry, they're not Kiss. They're not the Eagles. There is not going to be any last world tour. It's when it's over, and you won't know until 2 years later. Oh, they're not coming back. So, we'll see. Currently, Berlin's the last Stone show ever, and it may be the last Stone show ever. I hope it's not, and I don't think it will be. But
no, it won't be because again, Foxy, the doctrine according to Foxy is in my mind. They'll drop this album and they'll tour it next year, even if they do 12 or 24 shows.
Yeah, but the normal for them is now around 14 shows, so they'll probably do that. There's talk, rumours going around now that they'll do a residency in MSG in New York and also the Sphere, a new place in Las Vegas. Who knows?
Wow.
I don't know if they're ready to do a residency thing or not, because that's arguably a sign of retirement or getting close to retirement. Not everyone obviously does, but it's kind of the mindset of some people. So we'll see. I think they'll definitely go back to America. That's where the money is, and they like it there. And I guess it's easy to get around. You don't have multiple languages like if you do in Europe, and generally that's probably not a hassle for them. But you don't, in borders and things like that. You just drive around. You have to cross the border into Canada or to Mexico. So that's it. If they come to this part of the world, I know everyone wants them to come to New Zealand and Australia, but it's a lot of commitment. They have to do Japan, then they'll do somewhere else in Asia, then they come to the east coast of Australia, then they have to go to Perth, then they have to come back, and they come to New Zealand. So they're dealing with lots of flights, a few passport things, time zones, and they get a bit of that in America, but it's just different, I think. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think the great thing about America is that
the money's not here either to the same degree.
Yeah. But you're right though. It's just easier for them as far as the logistics goes. To travel interstate in America and basically, as you said, in Europe. So if you're a Stones fan in this part of the world and you want to see the Stones, you got to do what Foxy did, folks. You got to get some tickets and go
get
and
on
see
a
them.
plane, sort out your priorities. Forget those All Black tickets. Get on a plane, fly to LA. You get a return flight to LA, surely for less than $2,000, can't you? And go and see the Rolling Stones. You'll thank me. So.
Oh my Lord! No, I'm certainly looking forward to obviously any kind of information that they're going to drop over that. Personally, I'd love to see a DVD of them recording. I'd love to see the process of how they recorded these songs. I'm sad that we never got that with Black and Blue. We didn't get any video footage with that. I was sure we were going to get something.
Yeah. Blue and Lonesome. Yeah.
Blue and Lonesome. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. For sure. We've had some in-studio bits and pieces along the way, and I remember some of the stuff in Strip was studio type stuff and that. So I think they film a lot of stuff these days. They probably film pretty much everything they do.
Yeah.
So one day, and I understand they film pretty much every concert. Well, they do, because obviously they're putting it up on the big screen, and they'll keep that. They'll keep the audio, and there's a lifetime supply of Stone stuff in the can. And the interesting thing from the interview the other day with Jimmy is that Mick said we did 23 tracks, and here are 12 of them for the album.
Yes.
I've never heard them say that. Normally say, we've done a bunch of tracks and here are the 12 of them. They've never got a number. So does that mean there are 23 finished songs? It almost does to me, which almost means there could be another album, coming up, and whenever they decide to release it, in 2 years' time or whatever, So we'll
A
see.
Christmas
I've never
album.
seen them be specific. Well, perhaps they won't, because that's too soon. But next year or whatever, So that was very interesting. Him saying 23 tracks. I've never heard that before. So.
No, and that kind of amazed me too, and that's why I was sort of interested in what kind of packaging they may do.
Yeah.
With this.
And who knows with Christmas? You're correct. Who knows with Christmas or Record Store Day or whatever? We're going to do a super deluxe version now. The moment this comes out and they've got us hooked, and I've already spent my hundreds and hundreds of dollars on all my bits and pieces. They might now turn around and say, "Oh, and here's $1,000 box set, autographed and signed with 10 extra tracks." In Japanese, and then also the European one and the American one. Thanks very much. So we'll see. We'll see what they do.
What did you think of the Jimmy Fallon interview? Share some thoughts with the folks.
I like Jimmy Fallon. He's not everyone's cup of tea, and I've got a very good American friend, and he does not like Jimmy Fallon. But to me, Jimmy Fallon's better than a lot of what comes out of America. And the bottom line with Jimmy, he's actually a Stones fan. He's a genuine
Correct.
Stones fan. He's not just some guy who's read the script and I'll ask these questions and I'll try and be cool and play along. He's like us. He's a Stones fan, And so I thought he was great for it. It was always going to be a little bit me at times through it, but not too much of that. And he let it flow, and I like the interaction with him and Mick, which some of it I presume was rehearsed a little bit with Mick standing up and walking over to him and getting him to sit down. But I enjoyed that. It was very insightful. As I said, the 23 tracks alone, that was fantastic. What Ronnie said about having started it in December, which is all bizarre to me, because I thought they've been doing stuff for a long time, and I guess it's all a matter of definition of how they're putting the album together, and that with Charlie on, he's been gone for a couple of years now, so they're using some Charlie stuff, so it didn't all just suddenly start in December and right, let's start on day one, and but it's stuff that they've had for years. Who knows when they originally started writing some of these songs? Could be 10 years ago, and whatever else, So the Stones have often, as throughout time, have brought tracks that they wrote 10 years earlier and then stick them on Tattoo You or whatever, So
that's right.
One of the things they do. Tattoo You's not a bad album, If you can get past the opening track, it's a brilliant album,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So Foxy is right there, folks. The Stones don't have a problem with revisiting tracks and numbers, that they've worked on, and polish it a little bit further in the studio with maybe some collective effort from some of the other band members. I'm interested to hear. You mentioned Bill being on playing bass. I'm interested to hear how this track with Paul McCartney is going to go, and the piano player.
Elton, Chuck Leavell.
No, the famous one.
Elton
John. Elton John is.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Yeah. Wow. Did they actually say that, or is that just what you've read? Because I'm not. Did they actually mention Elton's name? I don't know if they mentioned it. I know if you read stuff, you'll see Elton John's name referenced.
Yes.
But okay, all right. So yeah. Well, that's
did they say it? No, they didn't say it. I've read. That's what I've read.
Yeah, I've read that too. They didn't say reference Elton, so but it may. Yeah, I haven't read the stuff that goes with the album on the album sales stuff, the official stuff, if it does say Elton. But Keith and Elton, I understand, not the bestest of buddies, or they weren't, but time heals and they're old men now. So Elton's probably mellowed and Keith's probably mellowed too. So, Mick and Elton obviously have been buddies. There's a great video in that Being Mick video when he goes to Elton's party, his garden party or whatever. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But so it'll be interesting. Yeah, I like Elton. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm happy to see Elton. If he's replacing Chuck Liddell, that's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got the Rock Professor in the chat too.
Ben Waters being on there. I can't wait to see what Ben Waters is doing. I love Ben Waters. He's a great guy, and he's the new Ian Stewart. He's Mr. Boogie Woogie. So that'll be fantastic. See what he's contributed. Yeah. Okay. Next. I don't. She played at the Beacon Theatre when they did the Shine a Light video on that, and she's good. One song, she'll be on one song. One song's enough. I'm a purist. I like my Jagger Richards songs, and I like my Stones and the Essentials. The Daryl Jones and Chuck Leavell, Bernard Fowler, etc. And I'd rather we didn't have any of these other guests. But if we have to, as long as they're used sparingly, and it doesn't become a guests album with a different guest on every track like lots of artists do. I hope we don't go down that path, and I'm sure we won't. So Lady Gaga.
Look, I agree with you.
Bring on the video. That'll be interesting, won't it?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either, and I can understand why some of these artists do it because it gives them an opportunity to, without sounding horrible, take a break. Without, having to be, 100% committed to the vocals or whatever. But the Stones seem to like her. Mick Jagger seems to have a.
Yeah, Mick likes to be current. That's one of his things. Keith not so much, but Mick's. He's listening to whatever the latest music is. He's got young kids and grandkids all over the place, so he's exposed to all sorts of music at home, and he's always been fascinated by other music forms. So he likes to stay current and hip, and if he can bring in someone young and attractive, or regardless of that, but someone young to some different music, then he's up for it. And if he sold that idea to Keith, good on him. So we'll see.
Yeah. If the Rock Professor didn't hear me before, I don't think he was in the chat when we did a shout out to him, but we should do a shout out to Simon, the Rock Professor. Good to see you, mate.
Indeed.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Speaking of Mick Jagger, did you see Mick Jagger's young son a couple of weeks ago on Instagram dancing and while some music was being played?
He's got the moves. Concert, he's like that at every concert. I remember at Hyde Park, for example, which had a huge bit of area between the stage and the barrier where we were, and he's going for gold for a long time until mum and mum / Nat and the nanny who or whatever take him away, But he's out there. I've seen lots of Jagger children grow up over the years over the barrier from me, literally a meter away from me at different shows at different ages and stuff, and some of them are very little like him and have got a lot bigger now. He's the real deal. He's the first real Mick Jagger child, in terms of he's got the moves like Jagger, he's got the attitude, he's got the others have faked it and are there and they're enjoying it and they're doing all or whatever, dancing respectfully and responsibly like a mature person. But he's his daddy's boy, I love that guy, that kid, he's fantastic. So it's great. He's good. And having a ballerina mother, obviously, he's learning all sorts of dance moves as well and stuff. So I'd like to see how he progresses in his career. So
God bless Mick Jagger. What a legend.
Yeah.
I love him.
He's the man. I don't know if you saw just recently, Simon, Andrew, sorry, the Billboard had Mick Jagger as the #1 frontman of all time. Just voted him in the last week or two. So I was Freddie second. I remember. I read the commentaries, and there were lots of Freddie fans saying that Freddie should be #1, and they've got a good case, but they're wrong. But so yeah.
They are wrong. They are wrong because Mick has how many decades has Mick fronted that band?
Yeah. And the other thing too. have seen lots of things and things you read and whatever bands it is, and I've talked about this before, where it's the Metallicas, the Pearl Jams, the AC/DCs, the big bands of the world. When the Stones arrive, they all show them respect, and especially if Jagger walks in the room, he is the man. It all changes. Even I love that Black and White Blues when he turned up at the White House with Obama. And Mrs. Obama, she just about got turned on there when Mick walks in the room. Like it's just he's the man. So,
well, it's interesting that you should say that, because that Shine the Light DVD's a little bit with the Clintons. How the Clintons are all lining up, and
yes.
and
This is
you
my
can
mother,
see that they they're shaking like shit.
I know. I've met royalty. I've met presidents from all around the world, and then they get to meet Mick and Keith. So yeah,
rock and roll royalty.
Yeah, they are. Yes, indeed.
Fantastic. Look, I've got some pics here that I want to throw up, bro, and I know that you're going to go back and have a look at the video, but I just want to throw these up for folks,
Well,
just to have a look at.
Time to do it. Good on you.
Yeah. So, that's just phenomenal.
I always thought it was Tina Turner, but it's clearly Mick. But it's he was channeling Tina in that picture. But yeah, these are fantastic. Look at this; it's brilliant. Keith from back in the day. Yeah, and tumbling dice action there. Now, whoever came up with super creative, they should be winning some sort of award, shouldn't they? Yeah.
Wow. Just they got everything right. The era.
Yeah.
There's the girl.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fantastic, It's just, must have taken a long time to produce all of this.
And just a couple more, folks.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Well, you're going to get to the one with the concert dates on it. You got that one?
Oh, hold on.
There's one in the bottom right of the billboard, and it's got some concert dates, which I think for 2024. Okay, you haven't got that. There's one if you find it of a billboard, and in the bottom right hand corner, it's got sold out over the top of something bowl, so the Hollywood Bowl or whatever it happens to be, with July 3rd and July 7th or something like that, as if a little teaser that there may be a tour next year and going there. It's good. The Hackney Diamonds tour.
I will make a point.
Sold out over. Yeah. Have a look. The bottom right of one of the billboards. So, yeah.
And there they are at the
for sure.
At the interview.
Yeah.
And there's the set list.
Yeah, one. Yes. So live by the sword. That's the one I think with Bill and Charlie on, is it? I think. Yeah. Driving Me Too Hard. That sounds very much like half a dozen other previous Stones tunes. Sweet Sounds of Heaven. So they bite my head off. These are very Stonesy titles. So they
Bite My Head Off is the one. Bite My Head Off is the one where McCartney is playing bass.
Okay, all right. Okay, interesting. Cool. I don't have much to say about them until we actually hear them. I just want to, as you know, I'm a big fanboy, so I'm going to love it regardless of what they do. But I just, if I'm blown away by how wonderful it is, then that's better. And the single's good, and often happens with these things. I remember going back to when Love Is Strong came out, or Mixed Emotions. The first singles off their respective albums. And I thought that how great they were, and then you get the album, and 6 months later, those songs are okay, but the rest of the album is so much better than what was released. The classic being, of course, is Tattoo You. With Start Me Up. Start Me Up's a great song and play it nearly every night, but there's so much better tracks on that album than Start Me Up. So, yeah, and so if this is the standard I set with Angry, geez, oh my God, we're in for a treat, baby. This is
Yeah,
going to be
yeah,
good.
yeah. And I'm glad you
Yeah.
said that too, because I fully agree with you. I think some of the lead singles that they've released over the years have been great, but haven't been
Yeah.
like the stars, haven't been, you know, the diamonds, to use
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
pun,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes. Yes.
of the album. Interesting. Did you know what a Hackney Diamond was until they explained it?
I didn't. Well, I've been learning it over the last few weeks, whatever, when we first started hearing the name. But up until then, I wasn't aware of the term Hackney Diamonds. No. So
No, I had no idea either. I thought it was, and it
yeah.
must have been an in-house thing. You know how
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
a band
Yeah.
has a
Yes.
you know, an in-house
Yeah.
thing. But when they said, "Oh no,
Yeah.
it's, you know, smashed windscreens from a good
Yeah.
night out,"
Yeah. 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 We're not condoning this behaviour, but because
and
we're going back to Karen.
oh no, and I was just going to say, and Keith said, "Oh, don't forget we're a London band too."
Yeah, exactly. Because we're talking with lots of other fans and that online the last few weeks, and so what's the connection with Hackney? None of them came from Hackney or whatever. And the closest we got is one of Mick's sons. I think James lived in Hackney for a while, so
Oh,
that wasn't obviously a strong enough reason to call it that. So yeah, and one of my good friends who's a big Stones fan, she lives in Hackney, so she's been centre of the universe for the last week. She was at the pub the other day when Mick came in. We'd talked about going down there. I'd street viewed the street and worked out. I said, "There's this pub right near the back of the Hackney Empire. I'd be hanging out there, you know." And her and another friend were down there and just having a quiet drink in the early afternoon, as you do when you're 70 odd and retired. Well, she's not retired actually, but sorry, Sarah. But when you're enjoying life and you're just having a quiet shandy with your friend, and walks Mick Jagger. And Sarah's a lovely. She's a very English lady, very proper, very proper. And I was speaking to her on the phone. I said, "I've got my kids in the car," when I was driving to work the other day, talking to her, and she goes, "He walked past me. I could have grabbed his balls." I've never heard these words out of her mouth before, and I've known her for, I don't know, 15 years or whatever it is, and just I could have grabbed his balls. It was that close. And so he went in, and him and Jimmy went in. And they did the little photo shoot with the newspapers that you can see. And Mick
yeah,
had ordered a beer, and he didn't actually drink it. He put it down on the windowsill. It's behind Jimmy's head. You can't see it in the photo, and did a little photo. Steve Jordan turned up briefly. Couldn't get a table. He left, and Patrick Woodruff came along. He's the lighting designer does the Stones, and I guess all sorts of other big bands, and they had quite a good chat to him. So yeah, so it was a very eventful
wow.
afternoon at the back of the Hackney Empire the day before the show, or was it 2 days before? Can't remember the timeline, but yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, some of the guys in the chat find that hilarious. Mark Tanner's going, "What the f?"
Yeah,
The rock professor's rolling around on the floor.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you need to know. Well, you don't. I've just described Sarah quite well. She's very English and very prim and proper, and could have
Yeah.
grabbed his balls.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting name. But
Mm-hmm.
when they were talking about it, because one of the titles of the album was going to be called "Smash and Grab" or something like that.
Okay,
Was one
all
of
right.
the
Mm-hmm.
one of the working
Yeah, yeah,
titles,
yeah. Okay,
and then they came
but
up with Hackney
yeah,
Diamond,
but
which
they've
is
done this before. When they did Stripped, the working title, I remember reading about that in the Rip It Up back at the time. Was Butt Naked was the
yeah.
working title for the Stripped album. So yeah.
What's Pete Phil saying here? Daughter went to the press conference, reckons she saw 2 drug deals going on the way there.
Probably East London, isn't it? So yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Well, we did. Look, as a bit of an aside, so a couple of weeks ago we did a Van Halen show on the channel, Foxy, the '84 Donington Castle gig, Monsters of Rock, and we put some pics up, and there were a couple of pics there, and the video before it got taken down, there was some cool video of John Entwistle hanging out with Eddie Van Halen, and people in the chat were saying, why was John Entwistle there? What was, because the Who didn't play, and people in the chat were saying, well, he was there he was the dealer. He was the guy that bought the snow.
Yeah. Well, no one's going to check him up. He's got VIP entry anywhere, hasn't he? You know.
Yeah.
Walk on in.
So had a bit of a laugh about that. But anyway, back to serious onto it stuff. So you've obviously got your back orders, your pre-orders in for as many of the records, the limited run records that you can possibly get.
Yes, I do. So I have all my shopping list's rather extensive. So every LP that I can get, which I think I'm now up to 8. Then all the different CD formats. There's the SHM CDs, the super high material ones out of Japan, which supposedly sound a bit better, and with the bonus track and slightly different packaging always. So I've got all those. And then I buy all the merchandise as well. So there's the blanket, there's the guitar picks, the coasters, the coffee cup, etc., the key ring, whatever it was, I stick it in the cart and So buy all that stuff. But on top of it, this is interesting. I buy all this crap. But as a friend said to me years ago, probably the best things in your collection were free. And he, in terms of Hackney Diamond stuff, at the press conference, those who were inside were given a tote bag and a T-shirt. And they are now, there are a few of them on eBay. I was lucky enough, I've got an Israeli friend who I kind of helped. I didn't help him get in, but I helped him with information. I was feeding him stuff from what the ladies outside were saying, messaging me, and I was telling him while he was inside, and then vice versa. While he was inside, I was messaging them outside saying the boys are about to come out and blah blah and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, he managed to grab me another tote bag and a T-shirt, so he got himself one and that. So that's like the holy grail of things. One just sold on eBay today for £120 or something like that, which was, I expected to go higher than that, but and no doubt they will in the coming days when people become aware of them. But yeah.
Fantastic.
So that's arguably a free thing. I'm going to pay him some postage and I'll flick him some coin for that. But it's super cool to get things like that.
Yeah.
It's all dated and Hackney Empire on the back of the T-shirt and a tongue on the front. A unique tongue that's unique to that particular press conference, and likewise with the tote bag. So I love that stuff.
Oh, brilliant, fantastic.
Yeah.
So, folks, we're at the hour mark, so I'm going to just remind you, if you're watching on a replay, we're going to have attached on this video a Facebook group that Foxy runs. If you want to touch base with Foxy there, I'll have that, and also any other social media links that he gives me. If you want to reach out to him, give our channel some support, folks, and share this link on your social media accounts for us, please. We always appreciate all the hard work that you guys do in supporting our channel. Richard, you might remember the first show that you did with us, we had about 400 subscribers.
Yeah.
Well, we only need 400 to get 10,000.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was first on you, the first show I did, I think was your biggest viewing audience ever, and you'd got to like 300 views or something. Now you do that in 2 seconds, don't you? So.
Well, this is one of the good things about what we do here. We're music fans. We're pretty concentrated on what we do on the channel. You're a Van Halen fan. I know that. You're a big Van Halen fan. So. And then obviously we're doing, the Stones, Clapton, and English blues, and that's pretty much it. And if you like that kind of stuff,
I tune in quietly too, Andrew, and watch bits and pieces here and there where I do, So
appreciate
like,
it.
share, subscribe.
Yeah. Always appreciate it. But look, folks, I'll attach Foxy's details here. If you want to go and follow him, give me 10 minutes, and I'll attach it here on this video. Foxy, it's been a pleasure and a privilege having you come and share your thoughts with us. I mean this sincerely, bro. You're a Kiwi, and you've helped us out by jumping on and talking Stones. We did a show with you talking about the passing of Charlie Watts, and that was a tough show for you and Carl and I. It was a tough show, and You know, you showed a bit of
Yeah,
emotion
yeah.
before you left. You know, so hopefully,
Yeah.
you know, this package makes things a little bit better for you as a Stones nut.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic, and thank you for the opportunity. And we need to do this more often. And going back to that Charlie show, let's hope it's a long time before we have part two, you know, of that sort of thing. So
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
But yeah,
Awesome. Thanks, Foxy. I'll let you go. Don't go
pleasure.
just yet. I'm going to say
Yeah.
thank you to everybody in the chat who's watched us live. Mark Tanner, the Rock Professor, has been here. Brad, the Backdoor Man, was here. Phil, thank you, Phil. Always appreciate your support. Thank you for becoming a channel member and supporting us, what we do here. It's always great to get that support. Who else have I missed? We had Gretch Zeppelin here. We had Dave, Wednesday Store. Dave was in here hanging out with us. I think we've got about everybody. We had Carlin here saying hi as well. And Music Is My Life. I know who you are. That's an Australian Stones fan who reached out to us about a year ago. They were watching the show that we did with you and couldn't believe that New Zealanders would love the Stones and knew a lot about the Stones. And I said, well, you know, we drive cars here too.
Yeah.
And Nelson Rodriguez, thank you guys. We'll let you guys go. I'll play the outro video. Please don't go, Rich.
Okay.
Don't go yet. Bye-bye, folks.
Right, ciao.
Where's this video? Where is the video? There it is there. Where is it? All this bloody stuff on this. Here it is.